Truman writes.
Welcome back, and welcome back. I'll just do it again 3 times. Good Lord. Great start to this third episode of Truman Writes. As you can tell, it's all about these early moments, guys, when I'm figuring it out. I'm sitting here in my 1-bedroom apartment. This is what happens when you're by yourself. You don't know what you're doing. You're lost in podcast world. It's new to you. You got a new mic. You can hear yourself. You're drinking green tea. It's the whole package here. I'm just giving it up. Giving up my life. Giving up my time. Giving up my word. I would never give up my word. All right. Let's see. To start this podcast, I want to say in the beginning on the 3rd episode that 100 episodes is the goal here. Honestly, right now, the first goal is to hit 7 and then 100. So there are 2 goals. The ultimate goal is 100 episodes, and then we'll sort of reevaluate what's going on here. If nothing's moving on this, I mean, I guess at the point of 100, I should know a little bit, maybe 50. But 100 is probably a solid base to have. So yeah, we'll just hopefully rock and roll together. And if you want to take part, like I mentioned on the last 2 episodes, and I will do on every episode henceforth, please slide into my DMs with your... sound a little naughty there, and almost got naughty. Anyway, slide on into my DMs, and then link me to your work. I'll read it. I'll let you know what episode it's going to be on. All that jazz. I'll have the P.O. box on the next episode. So you'll be able to send me letters, poetry, questions, whatever. I just want us to be a part of the postal system. I think that's a really fun idea. You have to go get stamps. You got to get an envelope. You got to find paper. You got to write on paper. You got to stuff that paper into the envelope. You then have to correctly write the address down. Don't overlook that step. I've gotten boned, or I've been boned rather, a few times on that stage of the process. So you're gonna have to figure it out. Do a Google search. Oh yeah, wetting my whistle. Do a Google search. Get in there. Hit the postal system up. I'm sure some of you haven't even done it before. And that is part of the problem. But it's also fun to mail shit. And then also have it read on the internet. So let's do that together. Mail me some letters, people. Also, I wanted to announce the next episode is going to be a fun one. Hopefully, it'll be my first one on video. I'm currently working on publishing a book on Amazon called Acidic Rhythm. If you want to search for that and maybe buy it. It's only $7.99, or that's what it's going to be. It's not live at this moment while I'm recording this episode, but it will be by the next episode. And so what I'm planning on doing is reading that live and having this as sort of the audiobook podcast version of it, and that way I can talk about some of the pieces. Some of them I won't because they're personal, and just kind of going through which ones I like the most, where I thought it was weak, the goal behind publishing and what I was trying to accomplish with it. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see together. If you guys like it, I'll pimp it on the Instagram, obviously. So, if you don't hear about it, you will. Today I'm reading an older work of mine called Highlining. I wrote this in college for an upper level English class. It was a creative writing class. We had to take one of those. And I actually didn't know we had to do creative writing until I was like a junior. So I was like, oh man, this would have been an easy one to pop when I was a freshman, but I'm glad that I didn't know or that I wasn't paying attention to my course requirements because I was so much better as a writer by the time I was a junior that it really helped me catapult my writing. And I think it had something to do with the professor also. But I wrote this in college, and the teacher was actually super impressed with it. And it was interesting because there was this one older sort of grandma character in there. And if you go to school with older people, especially college, well, I guess that's the only time an old person would be in your class. But anyway, she was proud of herself, I should say. And I didn't really like that. I thought it was boastful. I was like, look, lady, we're all creative writers here. We all think we're the best. You're not special. But she thought so. Anyway, fast forward to when okay, I guess I should back up a bit and say that when in this creative writing class, our exams were just 2 pieces that we wrote. We had 2 different sections that we had to bring in work. We would give it to the class before we had to read a bit and then talk about it, and then everyone who took home your work would grade you, or not grade, but give you edits or thoughts and opinions or whatever, what have you. So when I had my day, he was like, okay, Jake, your turn to read. And I read a little bit. And then after I got done, he was like, okay, look, I really like this one. It was really well written for this creative writing class. It's not going to be the best, guys. I mean, it's one of my favorite things I've written, but in terms of quality, I can improve upon it, and I will. But he was like, what did the class think? And then this bitch, grandma. And I only say that because she really was. She said, I didn't get it, so I'm not going to participate in this class. Now, upon hearing that, most people would think, oh, this bitch. What I thought was, I won. Simple as that. She had the audacity to mask it and project that she didn't get it and all of this, that, and the other. And I was like, look, lady, I'm a much better writer than you, okay? I'm glad you admitted it. Thank you. And I think, if I remember correctly, she wrote something about cake in one of her pieces. And in this piece, I was just angry at the world. It was a little bit of a drug-fueled rage when I was writing this. And so I said something, and there's a line in this about, I want the cake and I want to eat it too, or something like that. And so it was sort of a jab at her, but also fit correctly in the work, so it was interesting. But I don't know if that's what set her off, or if it really was just that I just roasted her in terms of talent. But anyway, not a nice person. She was one of those fake people that kind of projected a lot, like she was living out the story she was writing in her head. It was one of those people. All right, the first section of this is called Highlining. It's published under my real name. Google it. It's by Autre. Published it. The website is autre.love. Autre.love. So this is a 10-part prose poem that explores the complexity and perversions of being a writer in the modern age. I'm a poet of this world. I look around most of the time and observe the happenings. But one day I decided to stop with the normal and make a change. So I wrote a book of sorts. Now, settle in and engage the particulars of choice. Enter my mind, my resting place, where demons once claimed the taste. This lives a troubled story, it's yours to read. But change of mind, I'm sure you'll see. The music of lines swells with power for us. Beat with the patterns, it's the ball you can't trust. Enter Row. Childhood. Oh, the wondrous memories I could sing of those moments. I had fallen, I had been trampled, but I was moving, and moving fast. I wanted the lime and the light and the electrical outlet that supplied that magical green aurora power. But I was small. I was a red light lost on the switchboard that turned on the light. I knew my purpose, however, and I was finally set on making it known. I want to write for a living. I passed the cockroach, that sticky brown bug, man. Go for it. He was lazy in his response. Be inspirational or discouraging. Give me some attitude. Jesus. I'm beyond comprehension at this point, man. Finally some attitude from the guy. I didn't want to hear that. I want to be pushed into this one way or the other. I usually spoke with intent. You already did that. God, what game was he playing? And how is that? He was trying to outwit me. It was inevitable. By getting emotional, you've already shown your hand. It came all over me. I suppose I was willing to lose, but not to bow. Do what you want to do, man. It's really that simple. I changed. The steps following that conversation pounded hard deep into the cement of my life path, and I wore flat-soled shoes for the pain, with purpose. Pause. Can you guys hear me lick my lips? Because I can hear myself lick my lips because of this dank-ass microphone. But it's weirding me out. And I'm not sure if I'm going to get some freaks in there because of this, like some ASMR stuff or whatever, but let's jump back into it. I have a friend that loves to create with his mind. He is crazy. Peach skin with a deep passion for music. But wild music. Music that fills the ears and skips merrily down to your heart, moving fast down to your feet. Dancing with life, I partake with him. A change of space. The hill was masterful. Clinging to life given off by the sun and the spirit of the people. It had a soft slope. One a child could run playfully down without running the risk of tragic death, or worse, a knee scrape. Oh my God, stretching out my hands behind my head and melting playfully into the side of the hill. It's so beautiful out today. Such lyrical profoundness, but still right. A daughter of Mother Earth undoubtedly sat beside us and breathed emotion. Her hands moved out of her space and back in. Something was going on. Something wild. Can I sit with you? A sister asked. She nodded. I looked away. To our right, a band of misfits that missed the cut. Tourists. Get off our hill, my resting place. Pollute elsewhere, my fellow man. I wanted to remove them, but I knew this was all to share, at least in this moment. Why? The question had to be raised. Because it's the thing to do, I guess. No, is all I could muster. Down the hill and to the left a bit, a wiry man came skating into the scene. Jeans dirty and cut. No home and no worries. Just a random equation floating around the whiteboard of life. Carefree and in the breeze. Joyous if I've ever seen it. He disappeared into the brush. The sun was warm with the heat that could be tasted. Sweet but bitter. A hint of poison if I had to guess. Just a hint, though. The grass beat down to a yellow. Blades flat from feet, but still ever present, making its case, still beautiful. A suit and tie moved into the brush, the beauty of the moment never lost, hiding in secret and exchanging the goods. What time is it? So many secrets lay around the place. Always hiding, but always known. 3:12. Interesting. The journey was done, but the journey of my life was about to turn. 1. Getting a job was cool, like a sleek back of the hair with a black comb that you never remember how you get type of cool. I felt invincible. Professor's assistant is what my rectangular sticker on my shirt would have read at some awkward first gathering of people, but it was sketched onto my heart, so no real need for a sticker. Read this tonight. I need to know whether or not I should go with it. Friday in class. Yes, sir. Astute. Stop calling me sir, he reprimanded with his tone. One look, the look. Fuck, I'm sorry. That's more like it. Can you finish this tonight? Yes. A sticky needle ran through my bones. It was painful to leave a sentence incomplete. Go on, then. He was often rude. Sometimes I walked home. Sometimes I ran out of sheer fear of the night, the known and unknown. The moon scared me, too. The face so brightly lit but never truly visible. I scratched the key around the lock at the end of my trials. The scent of my home was mine. Bottles of empty wine littered my apartment, but it wasn't litter. It was art. I hung pieces on my wall, for the room was small. Working in such conditions called for a buttonny flat, so I lived in peace and loneliness. Setting down the professor's book, I set off on my nightly journey. It was romantic almost, the passion I carried for drifting around the room, the space. It was an escape. But of what? That question haunted me most nights. Hello. Sometimes I talked with self. Why, hello there, my good sir. I was fancy some days. Sit. Self was polite. Why, I will indeed, the fanciness continued. Tell me about your story, self. The phone buzzed, a distraction from the party, a nagging itch that never lay rest. I broke character. I broke self. Hello? Yo. Smooth but frustrating. My peach-skinned pal. What's going on? You need something? I have a problem with the constant bullshitting that happens in today's vernacular pool. He painted a picture of a dark night full of dancing and movement underground. A modern-day passageway for people to collect and express themselves. A free place. A free space. Sure, I had nothing to do. The professor's preferred reading of the night was already written, already old news. The authors make it too easy these days. The professor would ask for my opinion, but he knew what would come. I floated down into the space and skipped into the dark night. I met people of my kind. Beer flowed freely and spirits reigned the place. Plastic snowflakes hung from the ceiling, for it was cold outside, but not truly winter. Muffled sounds tried to speak through the notes of the night, bass floating all around. I can't hear you. It was the metaphor of my life, never hearing the sound of truth. He's killing it. Murder. He spoke in the now. I laughed. He laughed back. Dance with me. A female of the underground night bantered with eyes so black. A nod of the head and a smile, so we danced. As I left the scene, I walked slow. That night I decided to write poetry, because poetry is real and never lies. What we think is never censored, so why should the experience of one's mind be such? People avoid poetry because it tells of truth. We all live in the story. Why continue to get lost in the mystery when words could flow from the mind into description on the page? Step away from the real for a moment and create your own. Let others see you. Don't run away. As I ran home, I wrote a poem. Water is freeing, but is known little about. Stars tilt slightly as they cover the route. The moon will sing softly as it seeps through the trees. True beauty of nature is no longer seen. It takes only eyes to see and to know. Look for the answer, for it falls within snow. I cried that night. Before I keep going, hopefully that... I bumped the mic, so hopefully that didn't cause any distractions. If it did, I apologize. 2. Why are you so mysterious? People bark as they slowly creep towards the exit of my life. God, pause. I burp. Sorry, I do these in the morning after a cup of fat coffee, and I'm drinking some green tea right now, so. And I just did it again. That's what it is. And that's what it's going to be. Oh, where am I? Okay. Why are you so lost? I retort painfully in the corners of my mind while I smile and follow closely behind, showing them the way. It seems as if people only understand what they are strong enough to adore, or rather what they are willing to discover. One guy sees a scar, I see a scene. One guy sees a boy, I see a story. But what lies within the depths of his mind? What does one guy find from looking into his eyes? Or does one guy even break gaze from his golden apple long enough to tell that someone else is in the story? Life is simple, but life is a puzzle. I just like to think that the piece I become is different than most. A teacher once told me without telling me that the shit I wrote wasn't good, but I don't need him or her, or the gender is irrelevant. Who are we to critique another human concerning the produce of his mind, and whether or not it is ripe, or worse, rotten? A cast away of the mental project, all brought to attention by blind minds that fill time with the space. We seek what is not yet found, but what has been found so many times before. The equations of this life are known. Cyclical versions of ourselves lie within the past and will continue to rage in the future. As we destroy ourselves, we destroy self. People do not... My goodness, my apologies. Do people forget that the old guy chasing that whale? Well, the truth is that old guy finally found that donkey of a whale. Learn a lesson. I once fell down a rabbit hole, tripped over the root of the earth and fell right on in. But it wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. I saw colors form in the sky and teach lessons of old and new. A bird flew overhead in the middle of the blue shapes shaping the sky. Trees danced in the afternoon sun as they turned over and over again. The earth taught me a lesson, but all I could think about was that damn bird, so I wrote a poem about it all. The trip is done, it's finished now. The bearing bore and nature wowed. Feelings left and feelings known. Preachers teach of seeds now sown. Gowns of queens and kings they sit, on thrones of thorns and needles wit. It's all a measure of which we own. The trees they speak of seeds now sown. My peach friend pal once told me to live in the moment, in the now. The moments that fly away so dearly lost, never to return. He suggested that I live in the moments that surround me, so I fly away and learned a lesson. It hit me square in the face, no raw meat to settle the burn. It was some sort of higher knowledge, one I could not fathom. Put your shoes back on. I didn't know they were off. Fuck, man. I want to feel the earth. I still have socks on. We have to head back. Where are we going? I see a wandering soul searching for answers. Someone else might see a loon, and one guy might see a boy with his shoes off dancing under the sun. So I continued the dance under the sun. Tree. I decided on a run of all activities to write poetry. It was a movement in my head with the lead starring self. It was a lonely movement. It was scary, the things I thought at times, the creations of my mind, the kindness that lack. That teacher wanted me pinned down. The alarm sounded in his mind as his eyes read my line, her choice of word meticulously constructed in order to avoid a scene but strong enough to penetrate the one person of attack. But I didn't stay in that class to forget. I didn't move on for one reason. I lost the battle, so I decided to keep writing. Pens write on paper, voice writes on our mind. Love conquers time with heavy reason and rhyme. Hands move the pens, but brains move the hand. Hearts break the pen, now breaking the brand. Fires rage in the eyes, the heat comes and goes. Love quenches anger. Will the world ever know? Move now that pen with knowledge and skill. Swords may be stronger, but the pen always heals. That teacher looked me in the eye and looked away to the class. He pricked my mind and the blood rushed to my face. Stand behind your cowardly words as I fall in my chair. But what the teacher failed to realize is that passion and fervor is derived in the moments that destroy us. To be built truly strong, you must first tear down your walls. I was shamed. You are shameful. We all carry pain. But truth lies deeper within me. I didn't start this path to challenge the head of the classroom. I came here to show that I was head of the table. I write now to win. Whore. Flutes were humming a soft chorus the first night we had sex. She was an Indian girl that may have been Chinese, but I never asked. Questioning of the race someone ran was never a thought of mine. She often smiled when we finished. She told me of the pleasures of the past and the pain of the moment. Scratching my leg, down my back, she never broke skin. I lost my soul in those Arabian eyes. I was found in her. My hand in her hair, and the heiress was free. But she would leave me. Sometimes I lay on the ground, staring at my apartment ceiling. Why can't I see the stars? Tiny holes in the panels play the role of gassy light. I let the creation of the world play nature in my mind. I was lost in my head, in the moment. Hello, self, I always initiated. Hello again. Tell me a story, self, almost begging. What would you like to hear about? Choice, I lobbied. That is a long story indeed, my friend. Self was sometimes dodgy. Tell me about the first choice, I begged. The moment of silence that followed ruined my day. Self left the conversation. Self left me. Pushing myself off the wooden floor, I realized that lack of strength my arms carried. My mind was strong, however. Fuck it. I left the apartment for a walk. The sun was bright and moist. My shoes were moist as well, but I kept walking. I walked to my local watering hole and knelt down in that house. I partook of the poison and let it fall down my throat, down, then deeper. Save some for the rest of us. A female's voice broke the silence. She was dressed for Sunday church. She talked like the preacher on Sunday morning, but less of the bullshit, more of the real-world happenings that mattered. What are you even doing in this place? I was confused. I'm here to save the locals, she said boastfully. Look elsewhere, grumbling. Actually, elsewhere sent me here to you. I don't need saving, my dear. Sometimes I found that introducing uncommon language into particularly common vernacular scares people off. My forte. I'm fine with talking to you. She just kept on. Why? I said. Because you're the only person that has yet to ask for my name or phone number, for that matter. They don't even want to know names anymore. If you have a vagina, that's all they need to know, apparently. I don't want your name, number, or vagina. I just want to be left alone, demanding some space. You can't be saved if you're alone, she stated simply. I can't be saved, I stated simply. She kept on talking, and I kept listening. She talked her way into my heart that night and into my bed, but only after I asked for her name. I did. We spin in the moment, the blurred world circling behind us. Nothing matters. All the feelings burying themselves in my soul, fleeting moments captured forever by others. Those moments now growing in the eyes of another. I feel myself in her, finally standing for something, the anthem never ending, the eruption of my bad into something good. She is something of worth. Live. Or live. Depends on how you read it. Oh, yeah. Anyway, the lady of the night turned out to be quite the character in my storybook of life. She was more than a lost soul. She was truly saving me. Her past lover had run off the road one night, ending his journey, but she wouldn't stop going. I didn't cry too much. That made me sad, discussing the funeral as we lay in the same position. You can cry now if you'd like. I had nothing else. Wouldn't change anything now, would it? Bluntly. I suppose not. Let's move in together. Let's do it. Finally some excitement in my life. She wore sundresses on rainy days. She created umbrella patio artwork. She bore tattoos that I knew nothing of, just past life experience that she would not discuss. No lids on her drinks. She only ate blue coconut snow cones. She was energetic and passionate. She was broken. She cried in the bathroom one night with the shower running but came out happy. She laughed at me sometimes and would never tell me why. But every time she laughed, she would call me over and hug me, kiss me, and hug me again. I felt love. I never heard it, though. I never had to. We dug up more roots of the earth and ran through the mountains. I'm flying right now. She was staring and smiling. The sky is so beautiful. I could not stop looking. What do you see? She asked. Everything. Same. She was mine and I was hers. I want to know what the creator was thinking when all of this was made. I thought it was a cesspool, I parlayed. Come on now, don't be simple-minded. Something had to construct this place. The rivers look like veins. Space is fucking wild. And you can't tell me the chain of events creating ice cream originated in a pool of random bacteria, so fuck off. I knew the buttons to press. I'm sorry. You're right. There was a creator. He is a superior man, common probably, but a viable option as a friend. I didn't want to have to talk. One day you'll realize. One day you'll believe in something. She was frustrating at times. Fine. An end to the arguing. An end to the journey. I would win sometimes. She won mostly, though. The intensity of her living was original and refreshing. Sometimes I wrote her poems. They didn't express my love fully. They weren't all love poems. She always gave me attitude when I laid the sappy shit on her. We both know that the love poems are no longer an asset to our relationship, regardless of my opinion on the matter. They acted only as a break of continuous moment we were there in, and it was almost shameful to break the story. But she liked them all the same, so I kept writing them. Voices run free in my mind. I get along. They tell me stories of the past, of the now. Seizing the moment, I conjure up images of fun, conquering the fear that once was. I move in. I'm falling into the moment. Left alone, freedom arrives with the silence. The saving grace graces me. Answers find me. I question them. Once alive, I float into the abyss that is my mind. I get lost. Tales of life, exploding colors, burdens of the everyday now are gone. The breath rises from my mouth in the icy night. Stars gaze down upon me, longing for more. There it is. The lesson is in this journey that I take. Limited scopes of the world cost what most don't have. Dreams close my eyes. I am lost in the journey. I wanted love, and she was the truth in the word. I never wanted to stop loving her. I never would. Listen, quick break. Obviously, the burping is going to be a theme here. I'm not sure if it's because I'm like hunched over talking into this mic or if it's the coffee, but I'm going to keep it real with you people. I just took another drink of green tea with some ginseng, baby. Sex. Police properly. Oh, I messed that up. Rewind. Sex. Police properly, but provided we wouldn't smoke, the gentleman allowed us to remain in the courtyard. It was a merry place indeed, where gnomes ran free in the blue grass. Fountain explosions mirrored that one summer night that causes patriotism for a moment. We walked with our fingers locked, sweaty almost. The paper dissolved long ago in buckets. God, I'm botching this bit. I'm going to run it back for a bit. The paper dissolved long ago, and the buckles locked early on. A roller coaster in the skies, the fountain's blue rain on our red necks burning from the day. You know what? Softly she spoke. Yeah? Always sounding so eager. Stick your head in there and look under the sea. I'm good. Staring into the water. Come on, it's liberating. Her lips broke and extended into a half moon that lit up the place. I did my hair. There may or may not be a circus man over behind that tree. I'm on record saying I am not able to see underwater. And I lost $1 somewhere back there that needs to be found. Well, let's find that dollar, man. I felt for her every day. A whirlwind of fear and rum and soda pop, dancing about the streets in hopes of finding a thrill. 1 quarter and a turn of the merry wheel spinning round too slow. The misery of the day sank with the sunset upon the grocery lot we found ourselves in, riding on our steeds so noble. Colorful in taste but sour from seekers of thrill the day before, we walked home quietly. And it wasn't because we had nothing to talk of, but we wanted to walk in silence in the now. But she spoke without boundaries. Tell me something, she stated bluntly. I want to be a rapper. I'm in love with an aspiring rap artist. Indeed. There it is. God. I want to apologize, but then I'm not going to. I guess I'm cool with that. What's your message? Are you an angry one? Will you wear a shirt? Asking curiously. Love. Obviously not. Only my own line. I couldn't be caught wearing someone else's work. Understandably so. I see, she smiled. Keep an eye out. I will. She tugged at my side as we continued to stroll. You tell me something. I was intrigued by the game. I want to start a family. Boldly and proud. Let's do it. Boldly in return. We were married in that moment. The bond united by faith. One soul all too ready to begin life. The ring finger is broken, it splinted bad ways. Paths of the wicked and lies led astray. Bits and pieces of hearts are scattered about, stomped out by splendor and sex-smelling stout. The heat of the matter went cold with the wind, vows meaning nothing but the tone of my skin. Loss of self in the hurt, the meter is set. waiting games of content circling in chess. Move pieces of minds, but seeing nonetheless. I feel the love of the headache now caught in a bind. Circles mean only what circles the mind. One physical kiss of the skin touches softly on mine. Relaxation after the long day sinks our heads into the pillows. Clouded minds swept away by love. We fly in the dreams and the spirit of the night. Before we go on, this is one of my favorite lines I've ever written. Circles mean only what circles the mind. Damn! 11. Complications arose in the arrival of the family. Doctors were telling the two of us that what happened? Complications arose in the arrival of the family. Doctors were telling the two of us things that should not be heard. The prescription drugs of the past had moved into the system from both parts of the relationship. The child would most likely not be seeing the light of this world. How can you tell me this? She squealed in pain. I'm truly sorry, ma'am, but there's nothing more I can do. We just have to wait and see. The doctor was nervous due to her intensity and my stare. Fuck me, mustering all I had. No. My wife sang out into the wide office space. Against my better judgment, we walked home that day from the doctor's. She didn't say much. I tried to hum a few inspirational tunes, but it stayed quiet. She was saddened, and I saw a new pain in her eyes, one I could not change. I'm sorry, she said. Don't put that on yourself, baby. My eyes started to wail. I wanted this. I wanted it as well, moving fast in my mind to try to save the situation. It's my fault. She chose to sleep more frequently after that. A darkness crept into our home, and into our house and into our home that was not reversible. My stomach just rang out in an attempt to get a snack, but I'm going to suffocate that desire, and hopefully you didn't hear that. She chose to sleep more frequently after that. A darkness crept into our house and into our home that was not reversible. No more flowers in the window sealing the heart. No more sweet kisses meaning nothing more than love's existence. It did no longer. The light of my life had grown cold. She had fallen over the side of the boat and refused to take my help. Floating without self, she walked around the house, looking out the window, searching for the days of old. I did the same. What are you doing today? She came outside to the back porch only for a moment. After I finish this joint, I'm heading to class, and I may write some after that. Are you okay? I can take the day off. I don't think the kids will mind. I had chosen to not stop fighting for her. I'm okay, baby. Have a nice day at work. Simple. Okay, I love you. Asking for something in return. She closed the door behind her. I want to think she heard me. I want to think she still loved me. But in the moments of the present day, nothing was certain. My wife had broken the bond and was fighting me as I fumbled around to try to fix it all. Driving to work was a time of reflection and heartache. The moments died fast and went quick. As I walked into the building, I knew something wasn't right. My phone rang. My life changed. I need you to sit down for me. The tone was futile. Okay. We found her in the closet. Both were lost. I'm sorry. Darkness set in. No, I had nothing else. I'm sorry. I ended the call. Later that night, I sat in the living room and drank from a tall tan bottle that had been hiding in the pantry for some time. A pool of tears and booze circled the ground around me. The end of the bottle approached, but the pain was still present. The pull of the grain cemented the pain deep into my soul. I yelled out against the wall and up to the gods. I threw down my phone and up my sadness. I fought to stand up and walk to her side, to fall where she fell, to lay down next to her one more time. Weary from the weed, I stumbled and went sideways, blacking out my view of life momentarily. I woke up to some kind of light, some kind of brightness, but I lay still and fought to stay in the darkness. Sin. Dearest of mine, I've asked to die many times, but still breathe, to move on from this place of unrest into something above, something more. but I continue on the road of this wretched rock. Gold does not change, but we still chase. We ask for favors over a phone, and our mouths no longer move. Look down and never up to see the trees. Boxes of lies shipped for only a few extra notes. Glowing truths of the matter now every day. Plastic dreams of something better, but they never last. Throwing away the simple times for a faster movement. We stand in line but do not speak, scared of the confrontation that may occur. Text me later tonight some fucking thing we speak. Change a tire, you don't know how to. Cause a smile, you don't know how to. Open your mouth, your eyes, your last. Beating on the door, we're scared to talk. Knocking without answer because how dare you come over without telling me beforehand. You bastard, you freak. Friendship I seek, but programs I lack. Did you binge on that show, that waste of time? Did you tickle your brain and waste your mind? I lost my wit and my will to branch. Am I looking for a mate, or will I just connect to the sadness of the time, creating a web of despair? Entering the space of resting self. Time is money and eyes do bat. Purchase this, my friend, purchase that. Eat the cake you made it for self. I think that was the line I was talking about with the bitch. The birth of days new and old. The traditions will come and go, but will never stray. We're taught how to lie, steal and cheat, but playing the game you can never beat. Damn! We're taught how to lie, steal, and cheat, but playing the game you can never beat. Turn your head and raise your eyes. Look past the tarnished tube of tales and lies. It told you to think, it taught you to see, but what has become of you and me? Sometimes life rhymes and sometimes it don't, but don't let the devil spin round its turn. Words collapse and people burn, but groups of people stomp out rage. Feet can dance and feel no pain, give out love and run for days. The tales of old are new at last. Once we turn off, we'll be a people clear as glass. I've asked to die many times before. It might be tracks of laughter prompting a stimulus that I may or may not have chosen. It might be putting a circle on a glass that was meant to last forever but only used once. It might be the glowing box that every family sits around. It might be due to the dusk overtaking the spine of a book in the attic of my mind. It may be politicians lying. It could be the people looking down the rectangular mimicking conversations. I think I read that wrong. It could be people looking down at the rectangle mimicking conversations. But it's most likely the constant reversion back to the celebration of self. Self is a tricky subject. We look in the mirror to see one image only to be flipped in the mind of another. Do you see me? Do I see you? Do I see me? Might be streams of a few rivers that bear bitter taste. It may be the lyric of the now pushing for kids to learn of birds and bees. It might be all of the sex. But it's most likely the image of the day. Dressing up to impress the masses, but no one looks. No one sees the person you're trying to be. They only see the person you portray. Portray self and scare the masses. Present the mind with a bit of vocabulary, boosting the stimulus, and watch them laugh with intrigue. I've asked to die many times before, but I kept moving. To save face, to save this place. Looking to create a music of line that people would listen to with their eyes. A movement to change a mind, to change the line. Newsboys before took charge and wrote line. If we could see good, then we might do good. But we have to recognize the distraction and cause of our own. Unsheath your mind and break your wand. Wave the flag and free your heart. The blind will see and the lame will walk. All it takes is a bit of talk. Of course they'll push us right and left, behind and soak with shame. But rise again, we'll walk abroad. When I woke, I broke myself. I remained rhythmic for a moment, but broke stride as well. I knelt down at the river to pray, but the water did not taste sane. Constant proof of insanity burns bright, but it's shielded by the light of the day. Night creeps in and thoughts take over. Games played with peers of the world. True love filtered through true pain. Alienated by choice, but no one saw it coming. We moved in turn and took the bait. We put the hook and spilled our blood. Red, white, and blue tells of truth lies in you. I like that one. Red, white, and blue tells of truth lies in you. Bleed for the flag, it raised the dead. But death is the flight above the average rhyme and average mind. We're all made to learn, but some refuse to turn the channel of the brand. Call the number and waste your time. 5-10 minutes. I fought that one back. Or that would have been my 8th burp on this episode. 15 minutes changing from green to black. Give your money, you sold yourself. They ask for what you can't get back. This one is littered with quality one-liners. It's a little dense. I'll apologize for that. I could have tightened this up, but there's some quality one-liners in this section. I asked to die one night and never wake up. I think it was due to lack of love. Parents love children and we see the example, but we long for our own kind, a new type of love. A love that grasps the heart and refuses to let go. That was a really weird sound I made right there. Just hearing myself make it, I will never make it again. And there's my stomach again. Forever longing to hold a wanting hand, falling asleep dreaming and waking up thinking type of love. One that doesn't need a fight, one that doesn't need a comparison, one that doesn't need separation but demands it. I long to look into a lover's eye and know that the circle civically cements our marriage. I'll pave and cement my own path through the heart. That night I asked not to awake. I sat down the note and signed my name. The last talk I would have of my wife. I told her everything. I gave her self. Amen. Heaven. This is the last section. Indian movement under the sky, the stars by the fire we danced. Time no longer yearned for our thought. The chief threw his neck down and up again, phoning the past and the present alike. Spirits of old watched over the dance, the drink. Dust mixed with ember to light my soul. The chief handed me the cup. Drink. A nod of the head as my lips lapped up the last of the liquid. The dream, it starts over again. I glide into the moment. All I could see was the dust-colored nothing that stretched thin across the page. I stood on a blacktop road split by a yellow line that was both forward and backward the same. Dusty for the common man, but the chief and I stood firm. Sand bit the face softly. The sun hung lightly above our heads, so we started to walk. I did not recall exactly when the common man entered into the space, but he carried a joyous tune. He sang of stories, lies, sex, and sandwiches. I laughed merrily at his bantering. The chief, walking all the same, spoke right. I don't know if you people can hear this, but there's a bird cawing and clawing at my mind while I try to read this. Okay, so... Oh, and now there's a plane flying overhead. Okay. The sun hung lightly above our heads, so we started to walk. I do not recall exactly when the common man entered into the space, but he carried a joyous tune. He sang of stories, lies, sex, and sandwiches. I laughed merrily at his bantering. The chief, walking all the same, spoke right. Walk, he stated simply. So we kept walking down this road in the desert, seeing no person or life. It was a lonely walk. The common man kept talking to me. He talked in many small moments. Where are we going? I asked aloud. Think, the chief resounded. Blink, the common man suggested. Jesus, guys. I was frustrated with the lack of sound communication. So we kept walking, talking only when needed. Down in the desert of the space. No life or movement afoot to hear of things coming or going. The stillness of the space was overwhelming. The lack of sound hung in my head. There's no reason to keep walking. I was done. Trust, the chief suggested. No, the common man, always out confusing the chief. Ah, yes, grow, trust, think, love, no. Sensei, please tell me more. Fed up with the antics. The chief was taking a drag from his pipe. Give me some of that shit, please. Thirsty for substance. Eat, the common man demanded. So I partook of the pipe laden of green, a substance from the earth, one that was free of restraint. Open your eyes, son, the chief asked. I looked around the page and saw wonders of lights and shape. The earth now dancing in the rays of the day. My mind raced down the road and back again. The truth of the matter was now clear. I was seeking something that could not be found. The answers in my life no longer had questions, they just simply were. We left the street for a moment and flew around the place. Both went on to tell me stories of their life and goals. I knew that I would not be in this space for long. Listening to their lips throw sound, it gently pierced my soul. No longer guarding self, I let down my wall, my sacred place. I understood the time. I no longer refused to give up my light, my happiness. I shone around the darkness that once filled my empty cup. When we landed, I was alone, left to my own, so I continued to walk, looking only forward and staying in the truth of the moment, staying in the now that was promised. Now, back onto the street that was crafted for me, I walked where I once flew. I scribbled one last poem in the sand. My middle finger bled as I wrote my last piece. The future shone bright but hazardous. Glimpses of the night pushed through us. Pick a trade and prepare your mind. The evils of this life do bind. Running now, run more so often. Bend back your wit to further soften. The hearts are weak and no longer able. Take to the sky and release your cable. We must save this place or kill our brother. Forever slave for man and do no other. As the second hand unwinds, intention is shown and all falls into place, into nature. We belong to the earth and we long for the sun and the weather. And that's that. It's a little dense in certain areas. What do I want to say about this? I wrote this at a very different time in my life. I think we could probably all say that about a lot of our writing, but this was in a moment when I was confused and lost a little bit, and I was trying to find myself through these words, and really just in the world in general, I think. But it was, at the same time, it's also a projection and fiction. And I don't really want to say how much of it is true, and I don't even want to say if any of it is. Because it's just a story, you know. There are traces of drug knowledge, obviously. And like the last bit there, I wanted it to be like this sort of whimsical, projection of beneficial drug use, however that may be. And I don't really know where I was going with the whole drug thing, other than, just be careful and don't try to find yourself in the wrong places, is all I'll say. So let's move on from that sad, sort of quasi-depressing tale of my past and move on and look ahead to next episode, where I'll be reading my collection of poems entitled Acidic Rhythm. And I'm really excited about that one. Hopefully we can get some videos set up and you guys can find out more about how I carry myself, what my apartment looks like, what I look like, and then I'll also have the P.O. box. I'll announce that and start pimping that out on my Instagram channel, and hopefully I can get some letters from you guys and just continue growing this podcast. As a reminder, I want a bunch of people to obviously listen to this podcast, but I only need 1,000 of you. Okay. That's the reality of it. I only need 1,000 of you. So tell your friends. Please, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcast or one of those other platforms, if you could leave a rating. If you're going to bash me, just like type it out and then delete it. And then write something nice and then see how you feel. And if you still feel like sending off the negative review for whatever reason, that's your prerogative, okay? But yeah, just share with your friends if you could. That would be really nice. Also, tell your friends to send me their work. I am looking for all sorts of pieces. I don't care what it is. I know some people have asked me on Instagram already, like, what should I send? And I'll be starting those submissions on the 5th episode. So I'm trying to compile them all into one episode right now. If you have anything, send it to me. Tell your friends. And check out this sweet outro song. Truman writes.